Okay, we're just going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee. And Avis, could you call the roll, please?
Emily Pachetti, Chair.
Here.
Mayor Marie Gallo.
Here.
Excuse me. Deidre McPherson.
Here.
Mr. Jeffrey Sleesman.
Here.
Ms. Lauren Welch.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. So we have a few items this morning. The first is approval of minutes from the August 5th meeting. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. So this morning we'll have two items, two presentations, the traction results reporting for the second quarter of 2025. That includes the customer experience surveys. And then we'll also have a quarterly management report. So for the traction results, I'd like to invite General Manager Birdsong Terry up with Nick and James, I believe, from Transpro Consulting. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Got a packed house today. We appreciate you for your time. We've got quite a few presentations today. We're going to start, as was mentioned by Trustee Pachetti. We're having the Traction Quarterly Performance Review. Can you guys hear me okay? That's better? Okay. The Traction Quarterly Performance Review for quarter 2 of 2025. As was mentioned, I have a couple partners with me this morning to be able to go through that information. Nick Bigger, who is the Senior Director for Customer Experience and Performance Management, will be taking the lion's share of the internal data reporting. And then also we are championed and through our external partner with Dr. James Rubin, hailing all the way from New York City. As we start to go through this, I'm really going to just set the stage and let these two gentlemen kind of delve into the data. But we always like to be able to kind of level set as far as what we're going to bring to you today. Performance management is something that we take seriously. We're really getting into the nitty-gritty, so to speak, of what this data means for our organization. We're finding that the customer experience spans well beyond our customers that take the service, but also our internal customers as well, and how we're able to really thrive internally as a reflection of what our customers see. So we're going to go through our report card, is what I like to call it, for our organization, and then the customer experience survey results. For the board members, you have a booklet at your desk there, and then also we end by letting you know when we're going to come back. All right, so looking at the overall, this is the organizational scorecard for the agency, not to be mistaken for the departmental. You've got the same 4 success outcomes to your left, and then the goal points. That's really what we strive to achieve quarter over quarter, and we are reporting for quarter 2. So all of the information you're starting to hear today, whether it's this presentation or the quarterly management report, which will come next, will really be giving you a snapshot of the last 6 months. We hope to be able to achieve the goal points that are outset by the end of the year, because quarter by quarter is very variable, depending on weather, depending on events, depending on delays, projects, all of that. But we're doing a pretty good job now. We're in the B+ category. If you look to the right-hand side, we're 88.5 out of 100. We wanted to make sure that we capped that at 100, so we can't get 101 or 102. We've got to make sure that we have a clear report card that's easy to understand by most audiences, including us. Customer experience, as you can clearly see in the yellow, is where we are right now for quarter 2. So we have hit our goal for quarter 2. I always like to put that as a caveat. It can fluctuate between the next 2 quarters, especially with weather and school coming back online. So you've got to mentally think that this is for the end of June. Community impact, we're getting there. We're getting closer to what we want to achieve. Excuse me. That has a lot of projects that go into what folks perceive of the relevance of RTA. Excuse me. And then the employee investment really is our HR function for all intents and purposes, as well as our training. How well do we recruit folks? How well do we retain folks? And then also, do our employees feel like their careers are being invested into on a daily basis? We're nearly toward that 20 for the goal, but we're inching toward that, and I would say safely in that wheelhouse. Financial health is something that we continually work on. Financial health, as you are quite aware within the industry, is tough when it comes to public transit as far as financing, funding, grants that we may get, and also the internal stewardship of how we handle our operational funds as well as capital expenditures, and you'll hear a little bit more about that as we get into the nitty-gritty of some of the projects. We're getting closer to that 15 goal, but we are not quite there yet, and you'll hear some more about that as well. So here's a little bit more of a deep dive into the success definitions that I just mentioned. Again, the points are on the left-hand side, and then the definition gives you a little bit more detail. The status, you want to look at the red numbers in comparison with the left and right columns, and that can also give you a little bit of detail about where we're coming through. I want to also bring your attention to the financial health for the competitive capital grants on the bottom. A lot of that, and we always say that, but it is true, a lot of it is due to timing as well, as when the grants come through, things that are happening through the federal, state, and local politics. So sometimes that number will fluctuate depending on when a lot of these grants are awarded, when they're loaded into the system, so to speak, the software, and when that also comes through and us cutting checks. So we'll go into detail on that. You'll see some changes, especially within paratransit. That's something that always has an ability to fluctuate as well. But as far as the capital side, we also have some really good progress on some major projects that we have been had in a pipeline for a while. I also want to be able to bring a little bit of attention, and then I'm going to head it over to Nick for a minute. The customer experience. We have knocked that Net Promoter Score out of the box. That is not a typo. 29 is the success definition, and we are at 54. That's huge when it comes to how folks are kind of looking at us and how we're operating. There are a lot of projects and a lot of pilots that we have going on. Excuse me, you guys. There's something called Going to Gemba, which we've mentioned before, and this is kind of a all bought-in process that everybody has to be able to go see what is happening in the system, not from behind your computer, but actually what's happening on the bus and the train. So we'll get into that in a little bit more. I'll get a little water and come back. I think Doc is going to get it. Thank you. A mint or some water. I appreciate the care that our customers give us. Thank you. So I won't muddy through this. I'll be back on the mic. Thank you. And that net promoter, much better, that net promoter score really is a testament to how we are taking seriously the service. There's a lot of things for transparency that we're trying to get out there as well when it comes to the digital era, making sure that we understand what's happening in real time. So you'll hear a lot about that as well as we go through the data. So I'm going to hand it over to Nick, and he's going to deep dive into some of the success outcomes that we've got for fiscal year 25.
Thank you, Ms. Terry. Chair Pachetti, members of the board, my name is Nick Bigger. I'm the Senior Director of Customer Experience and Performance Management here at the RTA, and I'm here to talk about our second quarter organizational performance. So just as a quick level set, as Ms. Terry was saying, RTA administers a balanced scorecard approach. We call it Traction. So within our balanced scorecard, we have 4 main success outcomes. So these are the 4 most important tenets to our organization. They are the customer experience, our community impact, our employee investment, and our financial health. And so all of our metrics and goals align to one of these 4 success outcomes. And so what I'm going to do here is go through our scorecard one success outcome at a time. So up first, we have our customer experience success outcome. So with our customer experience, it's important to note we did achieve 100% of the possible points in the second quarter. The majority of our metrics in this scorecard are derived directly from our customer experience surveys. So we administer customer experience surveys on a quarterly basis. We get approximately 400 responses by mode. So fixed route bus, bus rapid transit, rail, and paratransit. So roughly 1,600 surveys for customer experience are coming into us on a quarterly basis. We're looking at things like Net Promoter Score, so asking our customers at a high level, how likely are you to recommend riding RTA? We compare our promoters, those who are highly likely, versus our detractors, those who are not very likely. And you can calculate the Net Promoter Score. So you can see in the second quarter, our Net Promoter Score was a 54. This is the highest Net Promoter Score we've received as an agency since we've been surveying our customers for the last 4.5 years. We're also asking questions like overall customer satisfaction. We're very interested in a couple of key pain points for our customers. So our customers' perception of safety and security, as well as our customers' perception of cleanliness at the bottom there. So these are recurring pain points that we hear about. They're not uncommon. These are typical pain points for customers in public transportation across the country. And then the last bit of metrics there you see are related to on-time performance. So historically, on-time performance is overwhelmingly the most important thing to our customers, so kind of our North Star that we should be focused on. So we measure this two ways. We want to know our customers' perception of on-time performance as well as the actual data. And so as you can see, as you go down the metrics here, each of the metrics either met or bested the goal. So we got a 40 out of 40 for our customer experience in quarter two. Switching into the community impact success outcome, we also have a bit of survey data on this scorecard. This is a different survey. So this is our community value survey. We administer this survey twice a year. This goes out to the community at large. An interesting nuance to this is when we get responses back, only about 20% of those respondents actually ride RTA. So 80% of the people live in the RTA service area, but they don't ride. So they give you a good nuanced understanding of the value of RTA to the region. I said we administer this survey twice a year. We get approximately 600 responses back from our community survey, so you can understand the scale of that survey. So we did come in at... We administer twice a year, so we carried over our first quarter results to the second quarter results. We should be administering that survey again soon. So that number is a carryover from wave one. We're also looking at our transit-oriented development, so new projects where we're partnering with an external partner, bringing it to the board for approval. We have a yearly goal of having 4 new TOD projects. We've had 1 for the year, so that's that metric there. We're very interested in private sector investment to our major capital projects. So what's that ratio of infusing private sector dollars? We're looking at where we're investing. So the capital money that we receive, where are we investing it? Are we helping the community, investing in low-income communities, the people who need the investment the most? And also our sustainability efforts. So we're looking at our reduction of type 2 emissions. And so for the second quarter of 2025, our community impacts scorecard got a 17.1 out of 25 possible points. Switching into employee investment, this is a lot of our human resources efforts here. 2 of our metrics have to do with manpower, so vacancy fill rate. So a huge pain point for our organization for the last several years has to do with our vacancy fill rate specifically for operators, but also other mission critical positions. So we're very interested in our operator fill rate, mechanic fill rate, and transit police. We call these our mission critical positions. So we came in at 92% fill rate out of our goal of 95. At the bottom there, we're also looking at our vacancy fill rate for non-bargaining positions. So that's slightly bested the goal, 96% versus 95. The second metric there called Cultivate Internal Talent Pipeline. What this is measuring is our internal promotion rate. So we're looking at the employees who are here. Are we providing them career pathways so that they can promote up through the organization? So we have a goal of 36%. In the second quarter, we hit 43% for that metric. And we're also looking at our agency-wide retention rate. So we were at 96% retention rate compared to our goal of 90%. In totality, we hit 19.7 out of a possible 20 points for employee investment. Lastly, we have our financial health success outcome. So there's 3 metrics here. Each of the metrics are cumulative in nature. So we are looking at the competitive capital grants that are coming in. So these are the federal monies or state monies that are coming in to help us do the things that we do. So we have an annual goal to try to accrue $35 million, and year to date we're at $22.53 million, so we're at 3.2 out of 5 in that metric. The second one is an important one. So as you know, looking at this year, we have a budgetary plan to transfer just over $50 million from our revenue stabilization fund. We are trying to minimize that hit as much as possible. And so we have an internal goal on our scorecard to try to cap that drawdown at $40 million. So we're trying to achieve $10 million worth of savings out of our operations budget. So year to date, we've transferred $15 million, and our goal is to cap that at $40 million for this year. And the last one you've heard a lot about, we just heard a great presentation in the last board meeting, but this is our transfer to support our rail car replacement fund. So we have an annual goal to put $10 million into that bucket, and we've thus far transferred $7 million into that bucket. So we've achieved 11.7 out of a possible 15 points for Q2 in financial health. Now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. James Rubin from TransPro, who's going to give us a little deep dive into our customer experience surveys.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. Before I jump into the results, just a little bit of preview before we go in. I'm going to show you some very good news and a little bit of bad news and a little bit of no change. So I don't want anyone to think that we're here just to deliver good news when the first thing that we're going to look at is some pretty good news. The second thing I want to remind everyone about is that staff here at RTA have been working really, really hard around issues like safety and security, cleanliness, on-time performance. And sometimes when we see results jump from one quarter to the next quarter, we're tempted to think, okay, all of that good stuff that improved that satisfaction happened in the previous quarter. But customers don't often think that way, right? It's more of a cumulative impact that they have to experience improved on-time performance, experience better perceptions for their personal security over time, and that's when these numbers start to improve. So when you see a jump up, it could just be that we've reached a threshold where customers have experienced that improvement over enough of a long enough period of time that they're reflecting that in the results. So let's dive right in. First piece of information is tremendous good news on fixed route bus. You can see here an improvement from a 27 in the last wave, which we can almost throw out as an aberration. If you look at that 27, it really kind of is out of place. You could see a steady improvement wave, over 5 or 6 waves with that exception. The 61, as Nick mentioned, is the highest achievement for fixed route bus net promoter score in recent survey times here for RTA. So it's a tremendous accomplishment, and one that you know, we should be proud of from all the work and the customers reflecting this in their response on fixed route bus. So great job there. We will talk at the end of this presentation about what is driving that specifically. And I'll tell you, you already know because we've already showed you in this presentation. So we'll get to there in a second. Here's overall satisfaction. That's our other measure of overall satisfaction, also ticking up from 68 to 74 for fixed route bus. So good news there. We would expect that blue line, that 4-quarter rolling average, to tick up as well over the next subsequent few quarters when we collect more results. What's most important to fixed route bus customers, and again, this is an aggregate. Oh, I lost the screen for a second. This is an aggregation of things that are most important. So when you see drivers there on this list, it's going to be a combination of, you know, the driver is courteous and helpful, and the driver is operating safely, and all of those things that you would be concerned with under drivers. So you can still see the same 3. There we go. The same 3 most important things to customers here: personal safety and security, cleanliness, and on-time performance. You'll see those same 3 reflected for fixed route bus, for bus rapid transit, and for rail. It's just worth noting here that, you know, there's a little bit of a spread between those top 3. You see sort of a stepwide progression from personal safety and security to cleanliness to on-time performance, indicating that safety and security is paramount and most important to fixed route bus. There does seem to be some statistical difference between each of those 3 top categories for fixed route bus. Okay, fixed route bus. There we go. Here we go, bus rapid transit. So remember, I'm not here just to deliver only good news, and on bus rapid transit, we can show a little bit of negative here, a little slipping on net promoter score from a 24 down to a 17. Not a huge dip, but a noteworthy dip in a quarter in which regular fixed route bus service saw such an improvement in net promoter score. So probably an indication that we need to spend a little time thinking about the customer perception and experience on the bus rapid transit. Here you could see pretty flat in overall satisfaction, 70 to 72. So the same improvement that we saw for fixed route bus, we don't necessarily see for bus rapid transit. You could see that these percentages are a little closer to each other, meaning it's kind of a mix, a little bit more of a mix of things that are concerning to the BRT customers. Personal safety and security up there on top, but cleanliness is a little bit more right behind it, on-time performance, and a little bit more play here with the relationship between the customers and the drivers and their perceptions of their drivers, a little bit more important here on the BRT route than on the rest of the fixed route bus. The other piece of good news I'm here to deliver today is improvement on rail, which saw a corresponding improvement like fixed route bus. We saw a 24 last time we went out and surveyed, up to a 43 net promoter score. We haven't had a net promoter score this high for rail since September of 22. Great work there, and corresponding improvement in overall satisfaction for rail, up 10 percentage points from 65 up to 75. We haven't had a 75% satisfaction rate in rail since December 22. So phenomenal results there as well for the quarter. And here, what's most important to rail customers, again, very, very, very similar on those top levels: personal safety and security, on-time performance, and cleanliness. You can see cleanliness kind of slipped down a little bit from previous rounds on rail, meaning that customers are a little bit less concerned with cleanliness on their rail system, which usually is an indication that they're experiencing cleaner vehicles. What happens is the concern goes down as their perception of that attribute improves. And paratransit continues to show exceptional service across the board. 66 net promoter score. 66 net promoter score is extremely high, but I will note that the bus net promoter score is creeping up close to it. So friendly internal competition there. Overall satisfaction remains up, creeped up just past that 90% satisfied threshold in this quarter. So really great to see there. Again, reminding everyone that the personal safety and security concerns for paratransit customers is not exactly the same as it is for fixed route bus and rail. There are different safety and security concerns, more concerns about getting into the vehicle, being helped in and out of that vehicle, less about the conditions around the bus stop or on board the vehicle itself. We combine all of this to give an agency result, right? And I do want to remind everyone that what you're looking at is primarily driven by fixed route bus, because that's about 70 to 71% of your ridership. So the agency results here are weighted by ridership. With that in mind, you can see that net promoter score improvement agency-wide from 27 to a 54, that's an improvement of 27 points. Industry sample average right now is at about 37. So you're well above that. You could see the overall satisfaction improved from 68 to 74, a 6 percentage point improvement. Tremendous achievement there. So I said that I would come back to telling you what's driving that improvement. And if you'll think back toward when Nick was presenting the customer experience scorecard, some of those items on that scorecard are the attributes that are most important to customers, right? Their perceptions of personal safety and security, on-time performance, and cleanliness. Well, let's go through each one of those for the agency. On-time performance perception improved from 61% to 77%. 10 percentage point improvement. I'm sorry, 67 to 77. Perception of personal security improved from 63% to 68%. That's a 5 percentage point improvement. And here's the big one. Perception of cleanliness across the entire RTA system improved from 48%, and let's note that 48% is below the 50% halfway mark. It improved from 48% to 61%, a 13 percentage point improvement in perceptions of cleanliness. Those are the three most important attributes to your customers. And when you improve in those three most important attributes, overall satisfaction is going to improve, net promoter score is going to improve.
Thank you, Dr. Rubin. So just to close us out, kind of a bird's eye view of where we are with our traction cadence. So we're in the highlighted box here in August. So we're doing our board report this morning. We do always align our internal quarterly strategy meetings with our board report. So this afternoon, We're doing a deep dive with senior leadership to go over our traction results, our customer experience survey results, and something I'm actually really looking forward to, as you heard Ms. Terry talk about, going to Gemba. So that's really the guiding spirit behind a lot of the initiatives and formal processes that we're launching, which is basically compelling us as employees of this agency to get out there, right? To ride our service, to go to our transit centers, to see, feel, and experience things from a customer's perspective. So we had a nice initiative this summer where senior leadership actually adopted customer personas and went out and did a customer journey from a customer's point of view. And so we're going to have journey mapping presentations this afternoon from senior leadership. So I'm greatly looking forward to that. We're just very excited to continue these initiatives to try to drive improvement. I did want to say one last thing. Ms. Terry and I have been talking. So we did meet with Ms. Pichetti one time just to kind of go over traction in a little bit more detail. And so we do think we'd like to offer that to the full board, kind of like a traction educational session or whatever. So more to come on that, but I did just want to float that out there in this meeting. And at this time, we'll field any questions that you guys have.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and for inviting the board to learn more. It's fun to dive deep into this, and it's really important. Thank you again. And I did have a question. I really appreciate that you broke everything out by mode. I thought that was very helpful. I'm just curious how you guys think about, like, when there's like the rail it goes out for a couple weeks or a month or something like that. Does that affect the scores? How do you, when you're surveying people, how does that play into or not the things that we see? And would we, I'm anticipating we might see effects next quarter if so. So I just wanted to ask that.
Yeah, that's a great observation and definitely accurate. And so the nice thing that we do is we have our data going back in time, right? So what we kind of see, and this aligns with that, are quarterly trends. So like year over year, you see kind of the same ups and downs by quarter. We do a lot of our planned rail shutdowns in the summertime, right? And so we're able to kind of compare our data summer to summer, but we would expect to see some blips on that, right? So certainly, it is inconvenient to our rail customers, when they have to take the shuttle service. We're mindful of that. We do try to plan things as much as possible to limit that as much as we can, but we compare like data to like data. So summer to summer, we're mindful of all of the shutdowns that occurred. Yeah.
Can I just jump in quick?
Yeah, please.
I think ideally you would survey when there aren't shutdowns so that you get a true read on things, but sometimes that's not possible, so you have to do it. The last round, I think, of major rail shutdowns you all had last year, we actually saw some of the results bleed out to other modes beyond rail, because we saw some of those rail customers were using bus, were using the BRT, and those opinions were being expressed. They were given a chance to express their opinion while they were being diverted, which is never ideal from getting a true read on customer sat.
Thank you. Makes sense. Any questions from the board members? Yes.
I'd like to pick up that thread, and this wouldn't necessarily be reflected in traction data, but are you comparing any ridership data to those surveys? So my real interest here would be, okay, if there's an outage and we're getting some lower survey numbers, but if ridership rebounds after there's an outage, it's clearly, okay, we've inconvenienced people, but they're still our customers and they're still on board. Whereas on the reverse, if we've had something happen, we may have some lower survey data and also it might be reflected in lower ridership going forward. And that clearly might be an incident or an experience that we've lost them at that point. Are you doing any of those comparisons, or is it we're just looking at the surveys?
Not formally, but I think that's a terrific idea. So I think that's something that we can start to look into.
I would also suggest, Joel was kind enough actually in our recent service ops presentation to note when there's a change of frequency, what the change of ridership is. That's another one of those. I really appreciate the surveys and the time series of the surveys, and these are stated preferences, and we also have revealed preferences, and when people just kind of ride more or ride less often, and that is clearly like, okay, we've done something there, or something has happened that we're gaining them or losing them as riders. And so sometimes when we have things, the changes in frequency that Joel presented last time around, I was also looking at, I sometimes sound like a broken record, but in 2017, the Healthline was 4.2 million in ridership, and by 2019, it was 2.6. Something happened in the meantime that we lost those 1.6 million riders, and there was a corresponding drop in fares, and even though operating costs didn't really drop that much, there was something going on there in revealed preferences, whether or not we had stated preferences amongst our, if you surveyed those 2.6 million riders, they may still be fine, but something happened with the other 1.6. So just take a look at those, because people sometimes vote with their feet, not necessarily on surveys.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome presentation. I'm glad to see all of the increases in, customer satisfaction, cleanliness, perception. It's great to see. One trend, and I'll pick up where Trustee Sleesman kind of left off, but I particularly noticed when we were looking at, I think it was client satisfaction, and I don't know if it was specific to rail or not, but it seems to be, from maybe June, July to December per se, you see that dip in ratings across the board. And I know you spoke about, there being, outages for trains during that time, but I'm also interested to know what possibly contributes to those winter months. And, I can pull out, out of a hat that it's weather, right? But there may be some things in there that might be worth noting or paying close attention to. So I think to Trustee Sleesman's point, comparing these data sets to ridership to see if some of that maybe is just a result of less people, riding at that time, or if there are other concerns, or maybe for whatever reason or something else. So just keeping that in mind going forward. But overall, great presentation. I'm glad to see the results.
Thank you.
If I can add just one thing, you can hear me now, right? Okay. I will say that this is definitely a work in progress, so we appreciate all of the feedback. I think it's really great. These are the kind of questions that we want to hear. And I will say that there is in addition to Nick and Kim Wright on the management side, there is a third leg to this trio, and that's Zane Patterson. Not to put the pressure on Zane, I don't think he's in here. If you're listening, Zane, don't worry. But he is kind of the data guru out of the three of them, if I can say that, and really has a great mind for metrics and data coming from a business analytic kind of processing from the operational side. Interestingly enough, all three, Kim, Nick, and Zane, all worked at Hayden together at some point in their careers, if I'm not mistaken. So it gives a really good launching pad to be able to look at trends that are operational and not just the customer satisfaction, and taking it for face value with nothing else. I do think, as this team does report into me directly, the idea is to be able to have a business intelligence relationship with the rest of the districts. So, for example, I know Doc's team in operations really works in tandem with Joel's team as well, who's over service management, to really kind of not just know what's happening, but why it happens. And I think that being able to kind of integrate Nick's team from a data mining perspective will make a lot of sense. So that is on the horizon. We are about a quarter or so into them being in existence. So we have a long way to go, but I do think that is definitely on the docket. So we appreciate that. And what I did kind of whisper over to James Rubin is I think that part of our presentations, I'd like to also see us provide a little bit of information so that we're not here forever at the dais, but to be able to give you details as to why we think the numbers have changed. So for example, if we see a huge jump in NPS, what are some of the things that we've been doing that might be leading to that uptick in satisfaction? Or on the converse, what are the things that we aren't doing that we think might be an indicator as to lower numbers quarter by quarter? We have a lot of spirited debates here at RTA about whether or not we should look at things on a cumulative basis, year over year versus quarter by quarter. And although both sides of the argument are valid, the quarter by quarter wins the day because we have to understand that we're dynamic. So with that in mind, we will bring you more information to be able to kind of support the survey so that we also can not be functioning at the whim of the customer, because we do know that if there is something happening on the service where there's a major delay, all of a sudden your NPS may tank. So we've got to understand the details behind the data. So we will be working on that and come to you with more. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? And then I'd like to move on, just given
Yeah, I
we have a lot on the agenda.
one other real quick question. And also, I wouldn't necessarily hold this to traction, but James, you mentioned that paratransit riders have a different set of priorities when it comes to safety, security, a different set of issues. That made me think when it comes to, okay, we just had a jump in vehicle cleanliness, and this picks up on the thread you were just talking about. But kind of what goes into those perceptions and whether or not it shows up on the survey. If you're following up and saying, okay, wait a minute, why did that perception of cleanliness jump? Or not necessarily between modes, but those perceptions of safety and security. It's like, okay, what is driving that for the other? And if we have something changing, it's like, oh, okay, things may be very clean. They may not seem that way. Things may be very safe. They may not seem that way. So there might be a little bit of a disconnect between, I don't want to have Doc and his team cleaning the heck out of buses if it's something that's driving a perception that isn't the actual, microbiology of the situation. So just if there's follow-up questions with riders or something else to add some clarity on some of those.
So terrific point. And this is something when we receive these survey results, we spend a lot of time looking at these with our teams. So we go out to all the operating districts, we really deep dive in and make sure that we share the information, but we have lots of conversations about them. And what you just brought up kind of happened organically within our organization, right? So for many waves, we were collecting this cleanliness data. It's always been the biggest bugaboo for our customers. Like you said, we feel like we're cleaning the heck out of these vehicles. I've been here 15 years, and I can tell the standard has improved in terms of how frequently and how well we're cleaning the vehicles, but the numbers are still lagging. And so we took the opportunity to open up our survey question a little bit more. So we're still asking along the same lines of what's driving our customers' perception of cleanliness, but we put an open field in there. And so we said, hey, in addition to all of these questions, tell us what is influencing your perception of safety. And so we did find that when customers are responding to the question of cleanliness, there's other things that we would naturally associate with cleanliness. So things that you might more attribute to perception of safety and security, right? So perceptions of mental health issues, those types of things in the open field boxes wound up there. And so I think that's a terrific point that you just had. And so we're now having a more nuanced conversation about it. So yes, this is the data, but these are kind of the drivers of what's leading to our results.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay, with that, thank you so much, and we'll continue the conversation as we dive deeper into these reports as they come out every quarter. So thank you. Okay, I think we're going to turn now to the quarterly management report, and I'll just say, for those of you here for public comment, stick with us. We have one more committee meeting before the board meeting, so be patient, and we'll get through everything. All right, go ahead. General Manager Birdsong Terry.
Here we go. All right. I will be as quick as I can because I know we've got a lot on the agenda today. We have the QMRs, we call it the Quarterly Management Report. You do have the books at your desk there for the board members, and we also have this available electronically for those that are in the public. I will stay very high level for this one, but wanted to make sure that you saw some of the detail behind the numbers. We have a couple of highlighted areas. So Raj Gotham, who is our Deputy General Manager for Finance, will help me through a couple of these items to make sure that we are all in the same accord. I want to also mention that we have a Secretary Treasurer report coming up, and some of the numbers that I have in my presentation here, again, are for the first 6 months, the second 3 months of the year. So our second quarter of 2025 only. This is what is represented in this report. The Secretary Treasurer report is for the current, and that may give you a little bit of changes in some of the numbers because you've got to think 3 months in arrears for my report, which is always a little interesting. So as we go through the total revenues, this is pretty standard. We have the $1.75 million, which is a little over 13% higher than budget. Passenger fares, we like to bring you through that, and sales and use. Sales and use tax is something that we don't control. However, we want to make sure that we report on because it does affect our overall financial health. But passenger fares, of course, we do have a little bit of say in that, a little bit of sway in that rather. And this comes down to timing, issuing of receipts. However, we have it reported as of the second quarter, 11% lower than budget. On the reimbursed expenditures, that includes our fuel, preventative maintenance, labor, and other miscellaneous receipts. A lot of this is timing. We are looking at around $9 million. And then, of course, we have a transfer of approximately $15 million from the Revenue Stabilization Fund. And we'll get into a little bit of those transfers in the next slide there. On the operating side, of course, we get into the salaries and the overtime. As was mentioned by myself, and you'll hear it as a thread throughout this presentation today, the series of presentations, we are really pulling back on some things financially to make sure that we don't kind of fall into the idea of the fiscal cliff. You'll hear that term. It's not my favorite, but that is a term that you hear for public transportation in the media. And really, that is a forewarning of financial concern for public transit as we near toward trying to estimate how much our expenditures are and balance that with how much our capital is moving out the door, as we also really function very heavily dependent upon grants. And when you have grant competition, sometimes you don't know what's going to come in until it comes in. So we need to make sure that on the operating side, we have less transfers from that preventative maintenance bucket to make sure that we are not stopping the bleeding on the other side. Fuel hedging and utility contracts, just wanted to mention that again. The information is in your books, but we have come in nearly 4% lower than budget on that side. But then, of course, that's also going to be augmented by the ADA. This is one thing that I'd like Raj to be able to talk to, the purchase transportation. Sorry if I'm talking a little fast. Purchase transportation for ADA is that third party. As you have heard, we have multiple vendors that are helping us being able to provide that service in paratransit. We have reported into you, and you will see in the resolutions that we're asking for more money to make sure that we can continue with this service. This comes down to timing of invoices. I'm looking at John Tahir, I'm looking at Raj Gotham, because we're actually reporting 5.6% lower than budget. That is not a sustainable number. We are expecting that to go up, and then that also is timing. So Raj, if you wanted to have a couple of comments to that bullet point so that we can explain the numbers.
Absolutely, India. Thank you. For those online, this is Raj Gautam. I'm the DGM of Finance. The numbers that we are presenting to you are pretty much on a cash basis, which means that we record expenses when they're actually paid rather than when the services were incurred. So the timing, what we are talking about, the timing issue of invoices, these numbers only represent 5 months of expenses. The 6th month, the invoices came and arrived in the accounting department for payment towards the end of June. They got paid in July. So those invoices totaled roughly $1.4 million. So if you add the $1.4 million to the 5 months of expenses, we are actually $1 million over budget in that purchase transportation. So that's the timing of the issues at a cash basis, not on an accrual basis.
Are there any questions on that particular item? Because we were going through the data as we normally do, and we don't want to give the perception that we're actually under budget when we're over. So I just wanted to pause for a moment to see if anyone had any questions about the financing behind the paratransit item. Okay, I'll move forward. I talked about the reserves and I talked about the transfers. This is just a quick snapshot. Again, it's in your book. This is another item. Raj, we're going to talk really quickly about you're the star of the show today. The $7 million to rolling stock. Raj will give you another number in probably about a half an hour when he goes through his Secretary Treasury report. Raj, did you want to explain the difference? It's pretty simple.
This is a year-to-date number. So through the end of June, we had actually transferred $7 million towards the $10 million goal that we have set for the rolling transfer to the rolling stock reserve fund. In July, the remaining $3 million transfer was made, so we will meet that $10 million goal.
Thank you, Raj. So again, I always like to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Understand exactly what the numbers represent. You're looking at a snapshot in time with this presentation due to the 3 months in arrears. Raj will bring you up to date. The good news is we have made that $10 million commitment for the transfer. And that's what we bring to you on a quarterly basis is the update. With that being said, I'm just going to be able to kind of breeze through this one for a moment. This is a snapshot, making sure that you understand on the right-hand side, you see the data. The rail car replacement, we've gone through this ad nauseum. $40.8 million. These are the amount of money for expenditures in the capital program, so you really understand where our money is going. Of course, that tops the chart. You see that through the bar chart as well. And you have it by year on the bottom. We're in the blue for 2025, of course. Facilities improvements, reimbursements, that's the PM, the preventative maintenance and labor that I mentioned before at 7.3. And the rail projects, that's really the infrastructure projects that are there to keep us moving. Those are the support projects, whether it's track work or station work, to be able to keep our system moving. That's separate and apart from the rail car replacement program. So these are the things we would have had to do anyway, whether or not our rail cars are 40 years old or 4 months old. So we wanted to make sure that we had a separation between those two items so you could really see the difference in what we have to do to keep the system moving and then what we have to do to replace it. So with that, I will begin to end my presentation. If you do take a look at the summary that is authored by our team and under my name, in the first few pages of the book here, it really gives you a good snapshot of the things that you hear from us all the time. Some of the major items on grant applications that we have out there, for example, replacement of the roof at Triscuit Garage. Those are those things that we have to do for preventative maintenance and repair. We also, you heard from Nick Bigger and kind of the building of his customer experience community. And then also, we would be remiss without reporting on transit police. We had 14 new officers that came into the fold in Q2. We have our chief, I believe, behind the pole there, Deidre Jones, along with a lot of members of her team that are really maintaining the numbers. We want to make sure that we have a full roster there for transit police. Safety and security comes up quite a bit. There have been some amazing stories, if I can say, from some of the heroes that do work here as far as how we're able to keep our customers safe internally and externally. We also celebrated the 50 years. You guys were a part of that. We appreciate it. And then there are a couple of major milestones as far as awards. Management and budget, of course, was recognized. I want to say they're in their 30th year of that. I want to say it's 36 or 37, if I'm not mistaken, which is an amazing run. And then also NAMAC, which is the Northern Ohio Partnership Award for the National Association of Minority Contractors. It's quite a bit, but this is due to our DBE work and our small business support for the community. And of course, a lot of you were there for our East 79th build, kind of digging in the dirt. I always like to say that it's less of a ribbon cutting and more of a celebration of work to come. So with that concludes my QMR report, unless there are any questions.
Any questions from the committee or the full board? Okay. All right. With that, thank you very much for that report. And I think we can adjourn this committee. So a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second, Welch.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this committee is adjourned.
I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole Board. Roll call, please.
Mayor Paul Kumar, Chair.
Here.
Ms. Lauren Welch, Vice Chair.
Here.
Ms. Anastasia Elder.
Here.
Mayor Marie Gallo.
Here.
Mr. Stephen Love.
Here.
Reverend Charles Lucas. Ms. Deidre McPherson. Ms. Emily Pachetti.
Here.
Mr. Jeffrey Sleesman.
Here.
Mayor David Weiss.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Much. The next item, we have approval of the minutes, and I would like to amend by reading and ask Raj and Avis to go back and review the record so that the minutes reflect all members of the committee of the whole. I think we're a few short in the committee's members present and not present, so you can just amend that by reading.
Yep, thank you, Mayor.
So I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
Second, Welch.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Great. Next, we have the internal audit report from our executive director, Mr. Garofoli.
Good morning, Mayor Kumar, members of the Committee of the Whole and Executive Management Team, guests, and folks online. For the record, I am Anthony Garofoli, Executive Director of Internal Audit, and I will present the results of the Internal Audit Department activities for the second quarter. Please refer to this book that was handed out prior to, and some of you received it online. I'll walk you through that. I'll begin with last Tuesday, August 12th. We presented these activities in detail to the Audit Committee. Today's presentation is a summary. Beginning on pages 3 through 5 is the 2025 Internal Audit Plan, which was approved at the February 25th, 2025 board meeting. Per our professional audit standards, the plan was aligned with the RTA's strategic plan and performance metrics. You heard those metrics in the presentation given by Ms. Birdsong Terry and Nick Bigar. And again, those are customer experience, community impact, financial health, and employee investment. On pages 6 through 8, please find the results of 3 audit plan projects completed during the second quarter. These projects are employee travel expense, on-time performance, and fuel expense for compressed natural gas buses and electricity to propel our rail cars. We met with management, received the responses to our audit recommendations, and released the reports. We will track the implementation of the recommendations in our audit management system, and then there were no issues for board consideration. Moving on to page 8 is a summary and matrix of our work to provide assurance on compliance with federal grant regulations for the different vehicle replacement contracts which were approved by the board. Please see that matrix. We conducted several vehicle replacement audits during the second quarter. Again, there were no issues for board consideration. Both management and our contractors were in compliance with those regulations. Pages 9 through 10 are the result of our continuous auditing program, where we develop audit scripts to interrogate system data in real time, completing 100% of the audits for the transactions. Those audits continue to and remain to be fare collection, purchasing card transactions, nepotism, and employee payroll. Again, we shared the results with appropriate stakeholders and management. There were no issues in the second quarter for board consideration. Pages 13 through 20 of the report section focused on the railcar replacement program. Per the request of the audit committee and the board, we included the results of our audit activities related to the entire program with a focus on change orders and contractor payments. Please note on page 13, the first painted car shell is complete and assembly is underway. Management is preparing for the final contract option of up to 12 rail cars. If you look on page 14, is a picture of that painted rail car. Page 15, we included a copy of the change order log maintained by the procurement department. There were no change orders to the Siemens Mobility contract during the second quarter. The total value of that contract and change orders remains at $308,389,849.21. Total payments to the contractor as of today are $115,921,197.95, representing approximately 37% of the contract and now paid. Pages 16 through 17 are tables to summarize railcar program contracts, amounts, expenditures, and change orders. Internal Audit is engaged in various audits as we continue to assess risk and compliance. The status of those audits is detailed on pages 17 through 20 of the report. We did complete one audit during the second quarter, which is a railcar infrastructure modification design audit. There are no issues for board consideration. We'll report on the rest of these audits in future meetings and certainly in detail to the audit committee. Pages 21 through 24 are projects in various stages of completion per our internal audit plan. Please note we added project phase to provide our readers with transparency and information status. See those matrices. We will report on these projects in future audit committee meetings as well. Pages 25 through 26, please find the details and update of 3 special projects and emerging issues. We're completing these projects in our role as Inspector General for the RTA. We'll share the results of these investigations with appropriate stakeholders in accordance with our audit charter. We'll follow up on all outstanding recommendations. Page 27 is our efforts to work with external auditors. Please recall the state auditor completed the financial and single audit for fiscal year 2024. They shared their report with the board at the June meeting in executive session. Internal audit worked closely with the external auditors to coordinate work and to maximize the risk coverage. That report was released on July 9th, 2025 by the state auditor. We'll continue to work with the Federal Transit Administration's program management oversight consultant for the rail project, another external auditor we're coordinating with. The remainder of the report is informational. We continue to follow up on all audit recommendations to validate corrective actions that are implemented. We participate in several steering committees and meetings to learn and share risk management strategies. Finally, on page 31 is the staff training that we attended during the second quarter, and then the last page is our staff profiles. At this point, I can answer any questions from the committee, if you have any.
No, it was pretty, everything we expected was covered, and nothing out of the ordinary.
Anyone else?
Just a quick comment. I just wanted to compliment you on the presentation of the all the content here, and also like just flagging for us the new things, the new projects in progress. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Not, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor Weiss.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. I'd like to call to order the RTA Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Mayor Paul Kumar, Chair. Ms. Lauren Welch, Vice Chair.
Present.
Ms. Anastasia Elder.
Here.
Mayor Marie Gallo.
Here.
Mr. Stephen Love.
Here.
Reverend Charles Lucas. Ms. Deidre McPherson. Ms. Emily Pachetti.
Here.
Mr. Jeffrey Sleesman.
Yep.
Mayor David Weiss.
Present.
You have a quorum.
So much. Next, we have approval of the minutes. Is there a motion for that and a second?
So moved, Mayor Weiss.
Second, Elder.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Item number 5, public comment on non-agenda items. If you could please state your name and city of residence. Do we have anyone here in person?
Good morning, everyone. And Mayor Kumar, Jesus is going to fix it for you. I see you thinking over there. Before I speak, please don't take my time away from me because I want to give you what I have for you all this morning.
Sure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Sweetheart, you're still looking out for me. Make sure the vice president gets the one that's paper clip, please. Okay.
It's good to see you.
You too. Real quickly.
Excuse me, before she starts, Mayor Kumar, we did not read the notice.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. I skipped over that. Why don't we go back to number 3, certification regarding notice of meeting? My apologies.
Mr. President, I first advise the notice of this meeting has been posted more than 24 hours in advance of the meeting and that all usual notification has been given the news media and other interested persons, and that all requirements of the Ohio Revised Code and rules of and bylaws of this board regarding notice of meeting have been complied with.
Thank you. Please, Reverend.
Good morning once again. For resolution number 85, one of the operators stated to me at the Windermere station that the operators need a hub. They have nowhere to rest and refresh. And they need a hub, someplace they can get something to eat, take a break. I'm going to go down my list real quickly because I have to get out of here myself. I would like to know the trajectory of the RTA system so we have some more clarity. I want to thank you for updating the 79th Street station, and I want to make it clear to all who may be listening that this is not an opportunity for racial profiling or marginalization, or because money is being spent in a predominantly Black or poor community that there's going to be some type of violence that we're going to tolerate at RTA. So we want to make that very clear. And I want to thank you for fixing the 79th Street, and we want to make it clear that as it's being fixed, it's not going to be torn up. So we're going to be paying attention to that. The operators are only receiving 2 paid personal days a year. That's unfair and unreasonable. And some operators are working 8+ hours, including 12 hours, without a break. The operator on the number 48 stated once again that they're very displeased about only having 2 personal days. You all have the information that's before you. I've already emphasized that. I'm not going to reiterate things or be redundant. The roads on West 150th Street and Puritas are damaging the operators and the passengers, according to a passenger of concern. I asked that the adopted shelter program be restored. As you were talking about cleanliness for the rail, we need to have it for our shelters as well. An operator stated that the scanners need to be differentiated between the disabled and the student passes to eliminate fare evasions. And that's all. Everything else is in writing. And I was homesick, so I had to come home, everybody.
Thank you for your comment.
And Jesus is going to work it out for you. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. And you all don't forget to take care of Mrs. Birdsong Terry. And you tell your husband I said, thank you for allowing and welcoming you and helping you to help us.
Thank you.
And the sacrifice you make. Everybody have a blessed day, and we are not tolerating violence in our transportation system. I hope you heard that, whoever's listening. Thank you.
Great. We have others in the audience who would like to speak.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Hinkle. I'm a longtime resident of Cleveland, a longtime RTA commuter. It's just a quick suggestion that during the heavy snow, so I feel that maybe you all should support a partnership with the Court County Community Service to remove snow from the bus stops, because this way it makes it dangerous for the commuters to try to overstep the snow mounts, and it's not easy for the buses to pull over the curb. If we can have a partnership with the Court Community Service, we can have snow removed and stuff to make it safer for the commuters, especially for the seniors. So that's all I'm saying.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience? Yes, ma'am.
Top of the morning to everyone. A great transit system looks very clean.
Could I have your name and city of
my
residence,
name is
please?
Lakita Worley, and I'm of Cleveland, Ohio.
Thank you so much.
We have been talking about keeping the transit system clean. I just see it's not even enough janitorial staff. It's not. It's really hard. So my idea would be great if we could see hand sanitizers on all the vehicles and have access to paper towels so we can wipe down ourselves instead of depending on the staff. This really is hard for us people who suffer from anxiety. It's dirty. It's not clean. So we need access to that. And I also want to know, why don't RTA adopt the boost of income from the sales tax from all of the sports arenas and downtown parking? We've been seeing this from CPT, Clevelanders for Public Transit, for the last 8 years to you all. I would like to see you all adopt boosting the income from the sports arenas. They can do it. And get that money from the parking from downtown Cleveland. Make it happen.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Chris Martin, City of Cleveland. Apologize for the kind of scattershot nature of this comment. Picking up where Keita just left off on taxation, once again, I'm going to be asking you all to let me know, let us know, let the public know what your taxing authority is. You currently get most of your revenue from a 1% countywide sales tax. Can you go up to 1.5%? Can you go up to 1.1, 1.2? What can you tax? And if you were to tax the maximum amount, what service would you be able to provide us? I've been asking this for a few months now and haven't gotten an answer. I'm frustrated. UPass. I put in a public records request last week for the contract that you signed with CSU. If I could get a copy of that, I would appreciate it. I'm really curious, an update. I would appreciate an update on the press release, like the dispute, or not dispute, but like the whatever the little back and forth between CSU and you all on the opt-in nature of the program. That was an interesting press release. West 25th, please stay strong on bus lanes. There is organized business opposition to letting transit riders get to where they need to go quickly and reliably. You would think a bunch of employers would want their employees to be able to get to places on time, but apparently not. So the City of Cleveland appointees here, please talk to talk to the mayor. Make sure he is still in support of bus lanes on 25th. With regard to bus rapid transit in general, I know you have the upcoming Broadway thing and West 25th. BRT projects for RTA seem to really only be about capital improvements. They are never about service improvements. And this connects to the taxing authority, to your funding. It is easier for you all to get capital dollars. I'm sure it's very hard. It's very hard to get capital dollars, but it is still easier than operating dollars. And so, but operating dollars is what gets us onto transit. So get your operating dollars increased so we can ride more transit. Would like an update on a couple of different things. We heard 14 more cops were hired. Who cares? What is the actual I heard saw 92% for the overall operator, mechanic, and cops. But what is the current shortage on operators? When are we going to get account-based ticketing, fare capping, and smart cards? You all made the changes to your code book a few months ago to enable that. When are they going to be out in the real world? And then finally, because I heard the word pilot earlier, what's going on with the microtransit pilot projects? That's it. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. I know you have a report coming up. Is there anything you'd like to talk about now, or how will that be covered?
So first, thank you to everybody for your comments. I think a lot of you I've either not seen in a while, nice to see you again, or thank you for coming. I do have a presentation that's coming up. I will hit on, I want to say at least 5 or 6 of the things that were mentioned by some of you in the audience. Just to give a quick snapshot in case some of you have to go. The Adopt a Shelter program is still in effect. We have Sharon Jenkins, who, raise your hand, Sharon is our director. Thank you for marketing. If you have any questions, I think that was from Reverend Pinckney, but if you have questions, see Sharon. Also, I will give an update on the West 25th, so thank you, Mr. Martin. We'll talk through that. Nice to see you at that meeting again. Also, there was a question about the UPass. I will touch on that. That's part of my presentation as well. I believe our PIO, Bob Fleeg, is in the audience, and as well as our legal department. So if you have put in a public request for that document, that contract is signed. So we'll make sure to make good on that. There were also a lot of questions about operator fill rate. Ida Marshall in the back there, if you wanted to just give a very quick update on the numbers for operators. We anticipated this ask, and so we have that information in real time, and then I will hold on the remaining items because they may be covered in subsequent presentations.
Good morning. Yes, our vacancy fill rate for our operators is down to 35, which is very strong. We're very comfortable with those numbers. We're doing outreach in all areas, east and west side of town, to make sure that we keep those numbers down. We're making a very good effort and being very intentional by keeping our pipeline at 80 plus in training on a daily basis.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ida. 2 additional things, sorry, I didn't want to forget. The microtransit, we are actually retooling that. We're reworking the process. So before we move forward with any additional pilots with that, we're making sure that we're making it an attractive program that people want to buy into, because the ridership clearly just wasn't enough to keep it with the same guidelines. So we're reworking that one. And then fare capping, well, that is on our agenda. So we'll be coming to you shortly with updates on the software to be able to handle that. And then the cleanliness item is very duly noted. I think a lot of what we deal with are people throwing things on the floor. So if we had paper towels and the like, but we understand the idea about sanitization. I did hear that. That was something that came out of COVID as well. So we'll keep that in our coffers and move forward with the best thing that we can to keep people safe as well as clean. I understand the anxiety. It can be a lot as you're riding a system. And I'll stop there because I probably could keep talking. So.
Great. Anyone else in the audience that would like to make a comment, please?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Lou.
There are 2 things I would like to address together. It's a very good, GCRTA has established a system about surveying. So part of it is that NOBLE, Northern Ohio's for budget legislation equality, has done 2 of the survey type of issue, the activities around paratransit service. When we presented the first one, it was very quickly that after we made the presentation back in March 2022 to the ADA subcommittee, which is under CAC, there was a presentation in the OSPM committee to the board. However, last October, when we made our second presentation to the ADA subcommittee, which is in the focus group form, and up to now, it's almost a year, we still have not been able to present it through either the director of paratransit, or now we have customer experience this particular new department to do the presentation to the board. So the issue here is the GCRTA service, no matter you put it on the at the end of the phone call, or you send somebody on all our vehicles to survey people, the questions you ask, they are from an administrative point of view, not really from customer's point of view. I have actually answered surveys. Sometimes all the choices you listed may not be the answers I really want to give you, and there's no text box for me to write down my answer. So I still wish that Ms. Burson Terry will remember that when we take over the survey into our system, maybe we should reconsider how to phrase all these questions so we can actually have a closer result to see customers' perspective and administration perspective, how they can actually match, or they are still contradicting to one another. That's one thing. The other thing is our communication issues still exist. For example, with all our community event, coming up, there's an event, actually we will have an open house, GCRTA, but even CAC members, we have not actually received any emails or any notification, but we got it to know this event through neighborhood connection. So I think there are lots of things we should tighten it up. Of course, as I said that even before COVID-19, people collectively pay sales tax to fund GCRTAs. For the people who are not in high income, but they are really the so-called essential workers in the whole community, why they have to be paying the service twice in order to utilize the service? Please reconsider that. Clevelanders for Public Transit also have been offering you lots of ideas about how we can change our source of revenue, which will benefit GCRTA and also all our riders and also the community members to encourage them to utilize public transit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else in the audience? If not, let's go to the phone. Do we have anyone on the line today?
We have one caller. Caller 0387. You can go ahead.
This is Eric Stewart from Cleveland. I am not going to YouTube after this phone call, so I would like responses in this phone call to everything that I address. James Rubin, you said 75% approval rate for the rails for the rail. How many people did you talk to? If you could give up the percentage, you could give up the number of the people that were involved in getting you to the 75%. And I have that same question to Nick Bigger in the percentages that he gave when he was referencing customers. To the person, whoever that is, that put in the wrong information for what I put in for the web form, it might have been April or March. I want that person's name to be put out there in public, and then I want you to go back and correct it. Because I put in those 1,500 characters and took out the opportunity and time to do that for a reason. So put in what I said. Don't put in what your feelings were about what I said. And that's the same thing with the public comments where somebody was referencing that I was frustrated. I've never conveyed any frustration, and you could have asked me, and I would have told you. So you need to have the public record be accurate assessment of the facts. In addition to this, I would also like everything that I put in today that has been submitted to be read while I'm on the phone so I can understand that you actually put it in there and not have to wait a week to find out. Now, to India Birdsong Terry, who talked about financial health being of major importance for RTA, let's start with reducing your salary by $100,000 at minimal. We could get more people to clean the buses and the bus shelters with that $100,000 savings that you are truly not deserving of as it applies to the work that you claim that you've done. You're leading through imagery. I would like for there to be some consideration for a bus shelter to be put on the south side of Harvard in front of Whitney Young, not just for the 15, but for the 15A. I would also like bus shelters put on the southwest corner of Invermere and the northeast corner of Invermere for the purpose of serving ridership for what should be the 15A. Nobody has responded to me and given me any explanation as to why you are not allowing people to stay on the phone for the entirety of the Board of Trustees meeting. You don't tell the people in the public setting to get out and go look at it on YouTube. You shouldn't be doing it for the people on the phone either. It's a free service. So if you're going to do the free service, do the free service for everybody. Everybody that takes the time out to care enough about the well-being of public transit and the responsibility, the social economic responsibility of RTA through the implementation of public transit to the public to be allowed to participate for the whole time and all the opportunities that you make available for them. I would like all of this to be addressed before I get off the phone, because I am not going to YouTube, and you can address all of this while I'm on the phone.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Your time is up. I will we'll end that call, and if you have any comments you want to make now.
Sure, thank you. We appreciate all of the comments. I'll make the reminder once again that we respect each other and we expect the same out of our customers, regardless of their personal opinion. So we will also make sure that all of the comments, as we stated before, are copy-pasted as appropriate within our minutes. We do not publish expletives. We do not publish disparaging remarks to personal character. That is not tolerated. Again, that does not serve well the customers, nor the staff of GCRTA, nor the greater Cleveland community or this board. Again, we listened with full ears. I would ask IT to go ahead and close the call for this commenter, and we will continue with our status quo and have the listed minutes that reflect the comments of the commenter, and we appreciate the time. Thank you.
Do we have any other callers?
There are no other callers.
Do we have any web form comments?
Yes, Mayor Kumar. We do have a web comment from Mr. Stewart. It basically did reiterate what he just spoke. It's kind of lengthy. Would you like for me to read it, or?
I'd say if there's something that's outside of what Mr. Stewart has expressed in his audio, then go ahead and read that. But otherwise, I wouldn't go through the entire thing again. Feel free to scan it.
Okay. I can read the first part of it. Post this verbatim. This is from Mr. Eric Stewart, resident of Cleveland, Ohio. Post this verbatim on 7/15 at approximately 7:45. 2 emails were sent to the BLT and CAC. Subject lines were labeled touch points for the 15A and transfer points for the 15A and 48A. These emails should be made available for public examination distributed by the 2 previously mentioned entities. This should have been done prior to the implementation of the 6/13/21 Next Gen project. Everything else is basically the same.
Thank you. And I will just remind the audience as well that we are it's basically copy pasting from the comments. So your voice is heard. We appreciate the time that you give. And again, we do it in a respectful manner and we expect the reciprocity. And I appreciate your time for those that have come in person. Very much appreciate it.
We do have another one. Ms. Worley, who was here, she came in person and basically her comments were what she wrote on the web form as well. The third one is from Isaac Augusto, a resident of Cleveland. Comment: it's great seeing the plans for the West 25th BRT, especially in Ohio City. Those bus lanes are going to make a real difference. Those are all the comments.
Thank you so much. Okay, next we have items 6 through 13 are any committee reports. In particular, do we have anything from the Civilian Oversight Committee or the Community Advisory Committee? Anyone else? Okay, then let's move on to the next page, to the ad hoc committee reports. Do we have anything there in terms of those committees? Okay, if not, introduction of new employees and announcement of promotions. Ida Marshall, Senior Manager of Talent Acquisition. Welcome back.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Board President, India Birdsong Dairy, and entire board. My name is Ida Marshall, representing the Human Resources Department on our new hires. Where is it? There we are. We're talking about our August new hires. I'm really excited to be here to talk about those. These are folks that are joining our organization, particularly in operations this month. So it's all about the ops today. So we're going to get started. We're meeting our bus operators. We have Justice Smith, Cecil Bowman, Camille Lewis, Carmen Smith, who's rejoining, Leroy Wright, Marcus Holcomb, Marcus Pettis, Ashley White, and Lester Whitsettle. Moving on with other bus operators, there's Angel Santana, Sasha Geary, Floyd Tyler, Christian Gibson, Rachel Lowe, Rodney Smith, Malcolm Bowling Sr., and Shakia Whitehead, and finally things out with Rosalind Jones, bus operators. Welcome aboard. We have those trusted hands that are guiding safety and reliability. They're called our mechanics, but we call them equipment servicers. And that's Joshua Owens and Lucas Shupp. We have 5 outstanding promotions for August, and that is Nicholas Switzer, now signal maintainer, Christopher Switzer, line maintainer, Jacqueline Scott Reynolds, now the line maintainer, Jennifer Martin, now program contract manager, and Sean Becker, who is here as director of procurement. We give them a round of applause. Okay. And that's what we have for our August recruits and promotions.
Thank you so much.
A pleasure.
Okay, we have several resolutions next for consideration by the board. Resolution 2025-84.
Authorizing contract number 2025-112 with Oracle America, Inc. to provide Oracle Infrastructure as a Service, IaaS subscription services for a period of 1 year in an amount not to exceed $305,830. General Fund Management Information Services Department budget.
Thank you very much. You've heard that. Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion Welch.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. 2025-85.
Authorizing contract number 2025-055 with Televic U.S. Corp. to provide a multi-tenant hosting solution in an amount not to exceed $1,053,723 for a period of 4 years and 1 month. General Fund Information Technology Department budget.
You've heard that. Motion and a second, please.
So moved, Mayor Rice.
Second, Elder.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 85 passes. 2025-86.
Authorizing contract number 2025-047 with DLZ Ohio, Inc. for Project 20.31 On-Call Architect Engineer Services 2025 in an amount not to exceed $400,000 for a period of 24 months. RTA Capital and or RTA Development Funds, Engineering and Project Development Department budget.
Thank you for that reading. Do I have a motion and a second on that as well?
Motion, Love. Second, Sleesman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 86 carries. 2025-87.
Authorizing an increase to contract 2022-082A with Future Age, Inc., DBA, Provide a Ride to provide contracted paratransit services in an amount of $6,772,206.71 for a new base contract amount not to exceed $23,816,692.06. General Fund Paratransit Department budget.
Great. You've heard 2025-87, and I know we sort of talked about this earlier about the increase in demand. Do you have any comments on that?
Sure. Just want to reiterate and say, hopefully what is an approval so early. Thank you for the consideration, at least, of this resolution, as well as the other two that follow suit. Again, paratransit is sometimes the redheaded stepchild, if I can say that loosely, within public transit, because it's not necessarily our bread and butter. It usually is a portion of the overall service, number-wise, that we provide to the community. Sometimes we take for granted as a nation how important it is, and then also how much it costs. When it comes into being able to have door-to-door service with a few other friendly faces aboard, it really is a personal sort of ride for our customers, and we want to maintain that ability to say yes. I will remind the board and of the public as well that we don't have the opportunity to say no. We wouldn't want to say no, but the Federal Transit Administration ensures that we cannot. So that being said, we also have to make sure that we have enough money in the contracts to make sure that we can continue those services, and the transit paratransit ridership is skyrocketing. So we will do our best to continue to hopefully make ourselves the fourth provider, as Doc usually explains it. And we are on task, I want to say, from the the vehicle side to be at 100, if I'm not mistaken, vehicles, Doc, by so within the next year, give or take, we should be able to increase those numbers. We usually hover around 85 or so. So we want to continue to uptick those numbers. We also are making sure that we're holding on to as much of the business as we can internally. Usually it hovers around 51, 52%, if I'm not mistaken, Nick. So we'd like to take on more of that service, but in order to do so, we have to have the bodies, we have to have the vehicles, we have to have the maintainers, and part of our being able to maintain that service is bringing on more third-party vendors in order to augment it.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion and a second for 87?
So moved, Pachetti.
Second, Elder.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. 2025-88.
Authorizing an increase to contract number 2022-082B with GC Logistics of Mississippi, LLC, to provide contracted paratransit services in the amount of $4,397,910.56 for a new base contract amount not to exceed $15,503,986.47. General Fund Paratransit Department Budget.
Thank you very much. You've heard that reading. Is there a motion and a second?
Motion, Pachetti.
Second, McPherson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes as well. 2025-89.
Authorizing an increase to contract number 2022-082C with Senior Transportation Connection to provide contracted paratransit services in the amount of $1,060,425.48 for a new base contract in an amount not to exceed $6,460,796.37. General Fund Paratransit Department Budget.
Okay, thank you for that. A motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Go ahead.
So moved, Mayor Weiss.
Second, Pachetti.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. 2025-90.
Authorizing the purchase of casualty insurance from various insurance underwriters through USI Insurance Services, LLC, and Price, Forbes and Partners Limited, or their successors, for a period of 12 months in a total amount not to exceed $2,318,174. Insurance and General Funds Risk Management Department Budget.
Okay, you've heard 2025-90. Do I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved, Elder.
Second, Sleesman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes as well. And finally, 2025-91.
Authorizing revisions to personnel policy 400-04, payroll deductions of the personnel policies of the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority.
Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved, Welch. So moved, Welch. Second, McPherson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. Next, we have Raj Gotham, Deputy General Manager of Finance, to provide the Secretary Treasurer's Report.
Mayor Kumar, members of the board, my name is Raj Gautam. I am the Deputy General Manager of Finance and the Board Secretary Treasurer, here to present the July 2025 update. It's a pretty standard report. Most of the material is pretty similar to what we typically see. We'll start with an overview of the economic conditions under which we're operating. The Federal Open Market Commission has maintained the interest rates at 4.5%. That's that gold color line that you see on the chart. And this rate has been effective since January 29th. They are scheduled to meet September 16th and 17th to determine any future action. The annual inflation rate, if we all recall, which was as high as 9.1% back in June 2022, went down to a low of 2.3% in April 2025, and since then has increased to 2.7% in July 2025. We've been sharing the consumer confidence numbers from the University of Michigan surveys. Consumer sentiment increased 5% from June, the second consecutive monthly increase and the highest reading since February 2025. When you look at the chart, the index of consumer sentiment month over month was a positive change of 1.6%. Year over year, however, is a 7.1% decline. Current economic conditions as part of the sentiment, month to month, 4.9% increase. On a year-to-date basis, on a year-to-year comparison, 8.5% increase. And finally, on the index of consumer expectations, month-over-month decrease by 0.7%, year-over-year 16.1% decline. And we will continue monitoring this because this is reflective of what may be happening in the environment that may eventually impact sales tax revenue. Ridership through July 2025. I think I'll start off with a quick comparison to the year-to-date ridership to pre-COVID levels, which is on the right-hand side of the slide, 2019 at 18.4, 2025 at 14 million rides. That's a decline of 4.4 million rides, or roughly 24%. In July 2025, year-to-date ridership was 0.5% below 2024 levels. Passenger fares running fairly in conjunction with the declines in ridership. On comparison, as far as with pre-COVID numbers, there's a decrease of 5.8 million on a year-to-date basis, or roughly 26%. July fare revenue was 14.2% below July 2024. And once again, this is largely a result of the collections of and the timing issues that I often allude to. This is the July sales tax. August sales tax should be coming in within the next few days. Typically, it's between the 15th and 20th of each month. For the last several months, I think it's been coming in closer to the 20th. When we get that information, we'll make sure that we report that out to you. But July sales tax receipts were 1.5% higher when compared to July 2024. On a year-to-date basis, we're 2.8% higher when compared to last year. 17 of the 22 categories that make up the sales tax were positive in July. Online sales were up 9%. Motor vehicles and watercraft, 2.6%. Regular and statewide sales were 0.7% higher. This is once again a summary of some of the information that is included in your monthly package. Long-term debt is steady at 22.3 million. Reminder that the principal payment would be made in December of 2025. Average investment yield on a year-to-date basis is 4.07. Cash and investments, total cash and investments amount to 349.7 million, of which 320.3 is in restricted funds, and the remaining is unrestricted or general fund of 29.4 million, which is in excess of the 1 month operating reserve as required by board policy. In July, we did, as I had mentioned earlier, transfer the remaining 3 million into the Railcar Reserve Fund, meeting the annual goal, commitment, whatever we call, of 10 million. So that was done. We did also transfer another 10 million from the Budget Stabilization Fund, bringing the total to 25 million. And remember, the budget for the entire year is 50.5 million, even though we have a metric of limiting that to 40 million, as Nick Bigger in an earlier presentation mentioned. And that concludes my report. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the board on the presentation? Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Next, we have the General Manager's report.
Seems like the Raj and India show today. Good morning. It's still good morning again. Would like to give you a report from my seat as General Manager and CEO. Before I start in with the prepared slides, I wanted to make sure that I was able to give a little bit of an update, and this is at the request of our chief of police as well. And I would agree with her in this regard. I will leave out some of the significant details, but I do agree that this is one item that does deserve kudos at a higher level of management, i.e. the board, just for general awareness. So Chief, make sure that I don't misspeak when I'm recounting some of this, as well as Doc. On August 11th, earlier this month, 2025, we had a report. Usually there are BOLOs that are out, if you're aware what that is. It's usually just kind of a be aware, be on alert, correct? We use a lot of acronyms here to make sure that you're aware of suspects, potential criminals that might be out in the neighborhoods. Keep your head on a swivel if you run into any of those individuals so that you can make sure that you move forward with the appropriate action. Our transit police is very much on alert, as well as many other transit police forces, police forces within the community. This is really important as well because I know sometimes we take for granted the police force that we have. Not every transit authority has this ability to have dedicated men and women that are here to protect not only us as well as our riding public. But on this particular occasion, we had a few officers that were patrolling the community in the wee hours of the morning, so call it about 2 a.m., and recognized a couple of those individuals that were potentially known suspects in dangerous activity, one being a robbery in a nearby community and potentially transit location, as well as a homicide. And those individuals were found to be sleeping in a parking lot of one of our stations on the east side of Cleveland. And upon recognition of those suspects, our transit police did what they normally do and were extremely brave in making sure that they pursued those individuals. And of course, upon fleeing, were able to actually apprehend these individuals after they basically blew through two of our fences almost at Hayden District. As you may have realized before, I mentioned a couple of our folks that were up here at the dais were actually from Hayden originally, so we have a lot of heartfelt, I believe, feelings about all of our districts, but particularly that one, as it is in the middle of a neighborhood that sometimes has a little bit of activity more than others. Interestingly enough, our transit police were able to apprehend these individuals without additional incident. They were able to notify the proper authorities in that particular neighborhood to be able to get them to where they needed to be and off of the streets. But these individuals would not have been potentially caught if we were not vigilant. And so I wanted to make sure, and I'm missing some of the detail because we are here in the public forum, but I want to make sure that I don't underscore the importance of the bravery that these men and women actually exhibit every day. Although it is a requirement of the job, the expectation still floors me when I am able to get these kind of comments and recounting these stories that really sound something out of a Marvel book. If I get the names correctly, Sergeant Sean Herpka, Police Officer Chelsea Thompson, Alexander Sayenko, and William Edley were among those four that actually were able to take down those two armed and dangerous suspects that had been confirmed to be the owners, so to speak, of a robbery and a homicide. This is part of our Cleveland community vigilance. I want to make sure that I give them a round of applause as well as you to say thank you for your bravery. At this point, I just want to ask Chief Jones if she has anything to say as well to just recognize the effort of her team.
Thank you. Good morning. I just want to say to Ms. Birdsong-Terry and to the board, with regard to protecting our community, that is our role. We don't take it for granted. We don't enter into this career lightly. We know that there may be times where we will be called upon to arrest or investigate cases where homicide suspects may be involved. We do not shy away from it because we do care about our community. We care about the people that we serve. And I just want to make it clear that everything we do is to keep the community safe. I appreciate the bravery of these officers. We will continue to do our job, whether we have people that appreciate it or not. And again, I've said it before, they make me look good. So I truly do appreciate all the hard work and the diligence that these officers displayed that night. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And Chief, just on behalf of the board, please extend our personal thanks for their efforts and excellence, and to the entire department.
Thank you, we appreciate you. All right, so getting into the actual prepared slides here, and we've got some amazing stuff happening here as well. It does go in chronological order, so if you're wondering why we're going in this order, that's what it is. Just wanted to also give you a quick update. Anytime we have community engagement, that activities that are pretty significant, when we have large influence on the next generation of transportation, we like to make sure that you're aware of that. So you'll notice in the photo here, there's about 50, we'll call them aspiring transit professionals. Those are the youth, right? And so we've got students here that are coming from everywhere across the country. The National Urban League held their national conference. If you remember me having that in a previous slide or two a couple months back. I currently serve as the co-chair for that conference for the board on behalf of RTA. But really, this is an amazing feat. There were thousands of people that descended upon Cleveland from across the country through the National Urban League. Our local chapter here, the RTA, was really part of the rallying the troops, the city of Cleveland, fire, safety, sewer. There were a lot of folks that from the public works sector that really hosted a lot of these students to be able to understand what goes into having a role in public transit, but also public works. The rail district, that is in our station, hosted 50 students. Their names are listed here. There's a lot of folks that also helped out, but the folks there through rail management really and training really were able to explain what it is to work in public transit. So we have representation from marketing, training, and rail operations to really explain what goes into the day-to-day. Those students were just on fire with the passion of being able to think about working for public transit, which is something that we have to work on every day. So I appreciate the team for putting that together. The marketing team really came through. The HR team, I believe Ida was out there at the job fair with her team as well. We had our community bus out on Saturday. I was there every day. I think I got home at midnight every day of the week. But it was great to be able to be a good partner and community supporter for the Urban League. Also, getting out in the community, Tech Talk recruitment. We had a Connecting the Community event. This is another human resources boon. We collaborated with Tech Hive and also in collaboration with the Black Data Processing Associates. So BDPA, another acronym, to really talk about recruiting the next generation of IT professionals within public transportation. So this is something that we are starting to do, I want to say for the first time, if I'm not mistaken. And it was really great to be able to talk to folks to talk about the digital kind of imprint and how that affects public transit. So more to come on that. Also, I mentioned this before, just giving you an update. Anytime I travel out of the state for RTA business, I like to let you know. I did handle the conversation as the vice president for the APTF. It's the APTA Foundation, basically, and it's the scholarship arm of American Public Transportation Association. We met in Washington, D.C. to really determine who gets what money and what awardees will be the next recipients of dollars to be able to support their education in public transportation. I want to make sure that you are looking at the second bullet point because it is distinctive due to some of the executive orders that have come from the White House most recently this year. Selections were made without regard to disability, race, color, religion, sex, or ethnicity. This is very important as well because it changes some of the way that those scholarships are doled out. If you have a scholarship that goes towards females only, let's say in engineering, or African American that went to a historically black college, those kind of things have to be retooled a little bit to make sure that the playing field is equitable for all applicants, and that has been quite the challenge. But I will say that it's been a very eye-opening experience to serve on that board. I will say that GCRTA had a few applications to also come across their desk there. I do recuse myself from voting if I see those applications come through. So I also want to put that on the record, and we'll find out what students did get those scholarships at the APTA Transform Conference coming up in September in Boston. So for those of you who are going to be traveling for that, make sure that you keep an eye out for those scholarships awardee. Also, back out in the community, Case Western Reserve University. Drivers of health. This is a field experience that, again, we haven't done this in a very long time, if ever. And this is our team really being spurred by external affairs and marketing to really go out there and work with the educational institutions to understand the social determinants of health and how that actually plays a part with public transportation. It was great to be able to meet with these first-year medical students to really understand how transit works and how they could loop that in to their field of study once they become medical doctors. So another great collaborative effort by our team. Appreciate them on that. Downtown Cleveland Executive Committee Retreat. Spent a day really working with Downtown Cleveland. They're now called Downtown Cleveland, Inc. You might have known them through DCA and DCIC. This is really the group of business owners that are really laser focused on downtown business, and being able to have mobility is definitely part of that conversation. I serve on the board of that as their secretary for DCA. It was an all-day retreat, much like a lot of the retreats we have here, and really talking about what is the definition of success, whether it's Public Square, whether it's Tower City, whether it's right here on West 6th Street, about what does success look like as people return to work and actually come to live in the downtown area over the next 18 months. Guest speakers for that were Mayor Bibb as well as County Executive Ronayne, so it was a great opportunity to be part of that brainstorm. Also, the TCRP, the Transit Cooperative Research Program. This is something I serve as an emeritus ambassador for this. We also have quite a few folks on our team that are currently ambassadors, as well as emeritus themselves. You really are a salesperson for APTA via the research. This is the Transit Cooperative Research Program. So you go out with a booth, you are selling the research to really talk about the educational prowess of transit and how do we solve tactical issues, operational items through research and design. I was able to serve alongside our Deputy General Manager for Human Resources, George Fields. We were interviewed about psychological safety and organizational culture at GCRTA. It was really an amazing opportunity to really talk about some of the things that we're doing, the things that you heard about this morning as well on the national stage, and I did ask for a copy of the report when that's completed. Celebrating 50 years of service. You might have seen this young man's face here across some of our screens, our digital screens as well. Mr. Joe Urich, he is or was a facilities maintainer at Triscuit. He has completed 50 years of service at RTA, which is just amazing. Has worked at nearly all the facilities, very humble individual, as I am told. Of course, I have not known him for 50 years. However, I know of his legacy. Started at July 31st, 1975 as a hostler. And he actually has a daughter, if I'm not mistaken, Miss Leah Rose, that works in operations for facility maintenance. So it's a family affair for Mr. Urich, and we appreciate him. He will be recognized at our employee banquet coming up as well. Giving you the heads up, Ms. Welch, as you are our Oprah for that event. Also wanted to give you a quick update. Cleveland Puerto Rican Day Parade, we participated in this like we do every year for the city of Cleveland. The ridership was great on the 18 and 51 routes, 25 and 21% higher than normal on a typical Sunday. We had a lot of folks that were out there, including our Latinos Unidos ERG, that's our employee resource group. Some board members also were out there. I believe Anastasia came or anticipated to come out. In spirit was there to support us. And we also had, of course, Reverend Lucas, who's not here today. He was a bit under the weather, but he was out there in high spirits, riding in the parade with us. I wanted to make sure that I said that out loud because normally we have a photo of him. This year we didn't get the photo, but he was out there with our service quality team as well as our transit police, proudly representing the board. So thank you for that. Also, Connecting the Community Award. Now, this one I want to make sure I give the disclaimer so folks don't get any feelings hurt. This is a snapshot of the program. I wanted to make sure that the board members understood some of the efforts that our HR department and our operations folks are really collaborating on to make sure that people feel appreciated internally. This one in particular is the Connecting the Community Award. They were out at the Paratransit District in the month of August and July. I want to say, George, there were probably 5 or 6 awards that were given out across the districts.
Yeah, actually, as we went back through August, there were about 15.
Okay. In different locations?
All in different locations, and particular to the employee recognition. So we have employee recognition strategy that really shapes, spread the love amongst all of the people across our locations. Particularly, these folks end up coming to our employee banquet, as Ms. Birdsong Terry said, that will be on October 30th. So this is, as Ms. Birdsong Terry said, a snapshot of one of the awards. But on a monthly basis, we have a committee of operations, marketing, every division recognized that goes through all of the nominations to understand how we'll recognize the employee, whether it be at their district location or if they're on their bus, on their train, wherever they happen to be, we meet them where they're at.
So thank you, George. That's a great summary of what the program is. Just wanted to make sure you're aware that it's out there. Stay tuned for the employee banquet to be able to hear more about those individuals. So again, congratulations to Nick Davidson. I think that's Amy Bailey, if I'm not mistaken. That's also out at the Paratransit District. That is Vanessa and Tony, mildly representing our HR administrative as well as our ICC for Control Center. They go out, do a great job being able to say thank you for your work, and we'll make sure to bring you more information on that program soon. All right, so this is what we had a couple questions about. I'm not sure if everybody's still in the audience who asked about it, but this is the West 25th BRT, Bus Rapid Transit. It really is a neighborhood community meeting. So the neighborhood of West 25th is what we really focused on for this meeting. We have had several meetings throughout the community, throughout the phasing of this kind of blueprinted process. I want to say this is our third or fourth meeting. The way that this has operated is that if you have not seen the news lately, we have been all over it as far as business owners trying to really understand how to get into a good place with RTA riders that are trying to have the buses kind of take over the street instead of cars. There really is an amazing opportunity to make sure that the BRT community can really have their voices heard. Euclid is a great example of that. Cleveland is really one of the grandfather cities of the BRT program. Much like us going from direct service to the airport, we want to maintain that kind of connectivity, and it does come at a price. It does come with a cost of reducing some of those parking spaces. But we have really had a concerted effort. Our engineering team under Mike Shipper and also Joe Schaefer. I don't believe Joe is in the room, but he's done a yeoman's job. You'll see him in the bottom right corner of that photo there. Mike was actually right behind him to be able to talk through the process and be able to talk through some of the items that are bulleted on the left about pedestrian safety. We really went back to the drawing board. We heard from the community and said, how can we make this project safer? Not only for pedestrians, but cyclists, and also making sure that we have a little bit of a balance while we're trying to push bus rapid transit through this community. So delineators were on deck. Parking utilization study has been completed. Raised crosswalks, rumble strips. When you kind of go over it in your car, you hear that rumble. And then, of course, red paint and some of the other bright colors. We are still working through the process, but we are more than 60% design completed. Our intent is to move forward with this project. We just want to make sure that we have heard everyone and are adjusting the plan as much as that we can. Just as information, in late June for a timeline, we had a meeting with the local businesses. We are working with OCI, I want to mention that as well, the Ohio City Incorporated Board. They represent the business community in this West 25th neighborhood. So late June, we worked with local businesses. August 6th, we actually presented at an OCI board member meeting, and then we had this particular neighborhood meeting the next week. We have an upcoming corridor meeting in September, TBD for the date. We're going to kind of put a bow on it and be able to kind of make sure that we're not missing anything as we move forward. We also had 2 previous community meetings that had over 200 people each meeting that were in favor of this project. So just wanted to mention that. That's a little bit of an update on that project there. Also, wanted to give you another update. This is what I promised as well. Not sure if anybody's in the audience who asked about it, but this is the Cleveland State University UPass agreement. This has also been one that's been in the news over the last couple of weeks. There has also been a lot of talk about legislation. That has been in the news from different areas throughout the state as well. So if you recall, we have UPass agreements with about 5 different partners, 5 different universities. Cleveland State University is one among them. What we wanted to make sure is that we always have mobility options available for those students. How that happens is that they kind of sign on to this UPass agreement. It is a universal pass agreement. This is not new to Cleveland. It's not new to the industry. It's been around for quite a while. I was a grad student and an undergrad that had a UPass myself. As you can clearly see, it gets you into transit. Sometimes you work in it, and sometimes you live with it. So either way, it gets you acclimated to the system. I am a product of the UPass program. So understanding that we had that available, we did have an agreement signed with CSU that will take them through the spring semester of 2026. I want to make sure that you note the second bullet is very important. CSU will pay for all eligible student population to comply with UPass program requirements. We did not change the structure of the program. There has been a lot of conversation about what does eligible mean? What's the definition? That is determined by the educational institution. The client, i.e. the educational institution, determines what makes an eligible student. In Cleveland State's case, it is a full-time student, whatever their definition of that may be. So they could come up with a certain amount of credit hours, we would comply with that, and that makes the universe of who could actually get a sticker. Now, what the adoption rate and the actual, hey, I'm gonna go and grab my sticker, totally up to the student body. And that's where you get into the third and fourth bullets, which talk about the CSU will assess the fee of $57.50 per semester, which is a 5-month period, give or take. You got to remember that our monthly pass, around $95 or so, that's a monthly fee. This is a reduced rate because it's $57.50 for a semester, per student, per semester, whoever is eligible. So it's a significant savings for those students, and it really is. You can use it anytime. You can use it to go to the grocery, you can use it to go to the class, you can use it to go to the dentist, whatever you need to do, and it gets them acclimated. So we are excited to be able to say that we have a signed agreement with CSU, and they will be in effect through the spring semester of 26. Raj, I don't know if I'm missing anything.
No, I think, India, once again, this is Raj Gautam, Deputy General Manager of Finance. No, I think, India, you've covered it extremely well. Just for normal knowledge and background information, the Universal Access Program, or the UPass program, is governed by directives that are provided by the Board of Trustees as part of our code book under code book section 840.12. Janet, I'm looking at you. Sounds good, right? Doesn't it? And the basic requirement of the program really is that the client, the customer, the partner sponsor organization, they get to define the group that they would like to provide this benefit for. So it could be all undergraduate students, so it could be all students at a certain location, it could be an employer at a certain facility, etc. So the requirements, the plan is built on a concept of what we call underutilization, knowing well enough that if you cover 1,000 people in a building, a significant portion of those people will never set foot on the system. That's why we can give the highly discounted rates that we offer, knowing that only a certain percentage of those people will actually use the system. It is intended to be revenue neutral. I think we accomplished it. We're delighted that I think what we achieved is in CSU's best interest and RTA's best interest, but most importantly in the interest of the students who we know rely heavily on our system. So, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, were there any questions on that particular item? Okay, moving to our last item, I'm actually going to ask, Flante Caver and Mike Shipper to tag team on this one because it is their project. It's an operational and rail item, and we have a couple slides here for the internal and the external collaboration that went into this. So, Doc, if you want to start it off and then hand off to Mike.
Thank you, Ms. Terry. Mayor Kumar, members of the board. For the record, I'm Flante Caver, the Chief Operating Officer. So earlier we talked about our summer shutdowns. And so as a way to ensure that we maintain the state of good repair for our rail system, each summer we will plan major shutdowns so that we can get track work done to make sure that our track stays in the state of good repair and that it's safe. When we have these shutdowns, there's two components of work that happens. One is the construction work that comes from the engineering department and project manager, so these will be outside contractors. And then the other is our internal staff will work to conduct work throughout the system. And so this year, a lot of work occurred. The first of these slides is related to our engineering projects. And so Mike, I'll have you talk about these major engineering projects that we were able to advance this summer.
Thank you. Mike Shipper, Deputy General Manager, Engineering Project Management. In the 6 weeks, from our standpoint, it was broke into 3 2-week blocks. So the first 2 weeks focused on the Red Line West. We did significant work at the listed projects, but West 117th Street Station has been under construction for a long time. The work that we're completing is actually shown in one of the photos there. We'll be reopening that station later this month. So that was the final big item we needed. The stairs at West 65th, we did some inspections on the viaduct because we were able to, actually get out and look at the entire bridge. Catenary work, many of those catenary poles are in the middle of the 2 tracks, so we utilize the shutdown for that. A turnout that we're adding to the main line at the Brook Park shop near the airport tunnel, and a bunch of the yard tracks that we're tying into the system out at Brook Park. The second group really focused on the joint territory area, mainly from Tower City out to East 55th, and some work out on the branches, the light rail, because we did have the whole east side shut down for 2 weeks. Again, more work on the portals, which many of you toured. Some work on the Veterans Memorial Bridge, East 79th Street Station, which we just had the groundbreaking, but it is rapidly progressing, and work at the end of the line at Warrensville Van Aken, some new shelter and shelter pads on the light rail, and some of the signaling work in our trunk line, which is on the light rail between 55th and Shaker Square. And then the last 2-week block focused on the blue and green lines. And again, we actually addressed an emergency that happened due to a cable coming down over the tracks, coincidentally, during this period. We did some more work on the grounding system for the trunk line work, East 79th Street Station, Warrensville Van Aken, and we did some surveying that we're going to utilize for the light rail when we do the fiber optic cables, and more bridge inspections. So a big effort from multiple contractors and a big effort with the team. We know it is disruptive to our customers, and it is also pretty stressful for our contractors and staff to do a year's worth of work in 6 weeks. So that's why we try to take advantage of this. Certainly we're trying to get the rail system back to a state of good repair prior to the arrival of the rail cars. So we are pouring a lot of resources into getting these projects put together.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
All right, that completes my reports. If there are any questions, happy to take them.
Questions from the board? Trustee? Go ahead.
I was just going to ask about the shutdown on the green and blue lines, because I think it was extended. Was it because of that additional, you said, unexpected cable line coming down, or can you share a little bit more on that?
On the cable line in particular?
I'm just wondering, I know it was extended longer than you had anticipated initially, so I was just wondering.
Joel, please.
Yeah, thank you. This is Joel Freilich, Director of Service Management. I'll confess to proofreading some publicity that I wish had been written differently. Okay? Everything was planned and went as planned. The first 2 weeks of 6 weeks. First 2 weeks, West Side Red Line was shut down. Next, there were 4 more weeks to go. In hindsight, we should have written, there are 4 more weeks to go. During all 4 weeks, the light rail will be shut down, and during the first 2 of those 4, in addition, the East Side Red Line and Waterfront Line will be shut down. We didn't write it that way. We wrote a description of the 2 weeks, which was totally accurate, And we said in these next 2 weeks, Red Line will be shut down east side, and light rail east side, and waterfront east side. And it was true, but it left the wrong impression. But because then the next 2 weeks were described, light rail only will remain shut down. But it was not an accident. It was not an accident. It was not a change. It was just less than optimal communication.
Thank you. And I'll just say, I'm mentioning it because it's part of this broader discussion that we heard about earlier on communications, I think, from the audit team. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Mayor.
Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. I have no report at this meeting. Is there any old business? Any new business? Okay, the next regular board meeting is scheduled for September 23rd, 2025 in the boardroom of the Authority right here at the Root McBride Building on 1240 West 6th Street. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?